The slap rang through the marble lobby like a gunshot. A young woman in a burgundy uniform slammed against the reception desk, her neat blonde bun unraveling, blood trickling from her split lip. The man towering over her wore a $1,000 suit and carried a smile that belonged in darkness. "You think you can say no to me?" he snarled, seizing her hair and yanking her head back. What he didn't see was the man in military camouflage stepping quietly out of the elevator behind him. What he didn't know was that fate had positioned a warrior exactly where justice was needed most. The lobby of the Imperial Royale Hotel was rarely silent, especially during the holiday rush, but in that moment, every sound vanished. Ava Sinclair had been working the front desk for hours. Her feet throbbed, her back ached, but she kept her smile fixed because that smile was worth $8.50 an hour. And those 50 cents were the difference between her mother living and dying. The elevator chimed. Ava looked up and her stomach dropped. Colton Whitaker stepped into the lobby, flanked by two friends who moved like bodyguards. His dark hair was slicked back with expensive product, his suit worth more than Ava earned in 3 months, and his eyes, cold, predatory, locked onto her. "Well, well," Colton drawled, his voice carrying across the empty space. "Working late again, sweetheart." Ava's hands trembled beneath the counter. She hid them. "Good evening, Mr. Whitaker. How may I assist you?" He leaned across the desk, close enough for her to smell whiskey on his breath. "You can assist me by coming up to my suite." "I'm sorry, sir. I need to stay at my station." His smile never wavered, but something dangerous shifted behind his eyes. "I wasn't asking." One friend laughed. The other pulled out his phone and began recording. Ava's heart hammered. She had heard the stories about Colton Whitaker. Every woman who worked here had. Isabella from housekeeping had quit without a word. Another from the spa had transferred away. A quiet girl named Claire had simply vanished one night and never returned. "Mr. Whitaker," Ava said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I really can't leave the desk. Perhaps I could send someone else." "I don't want someone else." He reached across and clamped his hand around her wrist like a vice. "I want you." Pain shot up her arm. She gasped, trying to pull free. "Please, you're hurting me." "Good." His smile widened. "Maybe that'll teach you to listen." He yanked her forward. Her hips crashed against the counter's edge. Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She would not cry. She would not give him that victory. "Let me go," she said, voice shaking but clear. I said no. The word hung in the air like a verdict. Colton's face twisted. The charming mask shattered, revealing something ugly and long hidden. "No?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Do you know who I am? Do you know who my father is?" "I know exactly who you are, sir," and I still said no. The first slap came without warning. Ava's head snapped sideways. Stars burst across her vision. She tasted blood from where her teeth had cut the inside of her cheek. "You stupid little—" He grabbed the front of her uniform and hauled her halfway across the counter. "My father owns this hotel. He owns this city. He owns you." "Nobody owns me." The words slipped out before she could stop them. Quiet, defiant, true. Colton's eyes widened in disbelief, then narrowed in fury. He backhanded her. Ava collapsed hard against the marble floor. Her carefully pinned hair tumbled loose. Blood dripped from her split lip onto the polished stone. His friends kept laughing, kept recording. "Get up," Colton ordered. She didn't move. "I said get up." He seized a fistful of her blonde hair and jerked her to her knees. Ava cried out despite herself. The pain was blinding. "You're going to learn respect," he hissed, face inches from hers, "one way or another." "Let her go." The voice came from behind Colton, low, steady, lethal. Colton froze. His friends stopped laughing. The speaker stood near the elevator bank, military duffel bag slung over one shoulder. He was tall, lean, built like purpose rather than display. Short brown hair flecked with grey at the temples. His face bore the marks of years under sun, wind, and deeper scars. He wore United States Navy camouflage like it was part of him. At his heel stood a magnificent German shepherd, tan and black coat gleaming. Amber eyes locked on Colton with unnerving intelligence. The dog didn't growl. He simply watched. I said, the man repeated, taking one measured step forward. Let her go. Colton released Ava's hair and turned slowly. And who the hell are you? Lieutenant Commander Logan Pierce, United States Navy. Logan's tone was calm, almost conversational. And you have exactly 3 seconds to step away from that woman before I make you step away. Colton laughed, high, nervous. Do you have any idea who you're talking to? I know exactly who I'm talking to. Logan advanced another step. The shepherd moved in perfect sync. I'm talking to a man who just committed assault and battery in front of witnesses, and at least one recording device. Colton's friends exchanged uneasy glances. One lowered his phone. That's right, Logan continued. Whatever you recorded is evidence now. Virginia Code Section 18.2-57. Assault and battery, Class 1 misdemeanor, up to 12 months in jail and a $2,500 fine for each count. He paused. Your father doesn't have jurisdiction over military personnel, son. And even if he did, I'm on leave. Right now, I'm a private citizen who witnessed a crime. Logan's smile didn't touch his eyes. A private citizen with 20 years of combat training and a very protective dog. The shepherd's ears flicked forward. A low rumble began in his chest, not quite a growl, but a promise. Colton took an involuntary step back. Here's what's going to happen, Logan said. You're going to walk to that elevator. You're going to return to your room. And you're going to pray this young woman doesn't press charges, because if she does, I will personally ensure every major news outlet in Virginia knows exactly what happened here tonight. You can't, Colton began. My father. Your father isn't here. Logan's voice hardened. I am. For a long, frozen moment, no one moved. Then Colton's shoulders sagged, just enough. This isn't over, he muttered, voice trembling with helpless rage. You have no idea what you just started. I know exactly what I started. Logan held his gaze. The question is whether you're smart enough to end it. Colton turned and stalked toward the elevator. His friends followed, suddenly fascinated by the floor. At the doors, Colton glanced back. His eyes found Ava, and the look in them chilled her blood. We'll finish this later, he said softly, when your guard dog isn't around. The doors closed. Logan was at Ava's side in an instant, kneeling on the cold marble. Are you hurt? Can you stand? Ava tried to answer, but her voice failed. The adrenaline that had held her together was draining away, leaving only trembling. Easy, Logan said gently, voice now soft, like he was calming a frightened animal. You're safe. He's gone. Can you look at me? Ava forced herself to meet his eyes, grey, steady, kind. There you go, he murmured. That's good. Now I'm going to help you up. Is that okay? She nodded. His hand was warm and strong as he eased her to her feet. She swayed. He steadied her without gripping too hard. My name's Logan, he said, and this is Titan. The German shepherd had moved closer, amber eyes fixed on Ava with something close to concern. Without thinking, she reached down and touched his head. His fur was soft, warm. Titan leaned into her hand and made a quiet sound, almost a whine. He likes you, Logan said. He doesn't like everyone. Ava tried to smile, but her split lip protested. She winced. Logan's expression darkened. You need medical attention. Is there a first aid kit? Someone I can call? I'm fine, she said automatically. The words she had repeated for so long they felt like breathing. You're not fine. You're bleeding. He studied her face, and Ava felt he was seeing far more than the bruises. How long has he been doing this? Her breath caught. What? That wasn't the first time. I can tell by the way you reacted. You weren't surprised. You were resigned. His voice stayed quiet. How long? Ava looked away. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Silence stretched between them. Titan pressed closer to her leg, a solid, comforting warmth. I should get back to work, Ava finally said. My shift isn't over. You're not seriously going back to work after that. I don't have a choice. I need this job. Logan started to argue, then stopped himself. Instead, he asked, Is there someone I can call? Family? A friend? Ava thought of her mother lying in a hospital bed miles away, fighting a battle she couldn't win without help. She thought of the medical bills piled on the kitchen table. She thought of the $10,000 Reginald Whittaker had once offered her to forget a similar incident. "No," she whispered. "There's no one." Logan was quiet. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a card. "This is my cell number. If anything happens, anything at all, you call me." Ava stared at the card but didn't take it. "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me." "I don't need to know you." He pressed the card into her hand. "I just need to know that what he did was wrong." In 22 years, Ava had learned one truth. Nobody helped for free. Everyone wanted something. But Logan's eyes held only quiet resolve, and Titan's warmth against her leg felt like safety. Something she hadn't known in a very long time. "Thank you," she whispered, "for stopping him." "I didn't stop anything, I just delayed it." Logan's jaw tightened. Men like him don't give up. They just get smarter. Before she could respond, a door slammed in the back offices. Footsteps approached, quick, purposeful. A man emerged from the staff corridor, late 50s, tall, silver-haired, wearing a suit that cost more than Ava's yearly salary. Handsome in the polished way of aging politicians. Reginald Whittaker, Colton's father, owner of the Imperial Royale and half the city besides. What happened here? Reginald's voice was controlled, but his eyes swept the scene with cold calculation. The blood on Ava's face, the Navy man beside her, the German shepherd watching him with unsettling focus. "Your son happened," Logan said flatly. "He assaulted this woman." "Assaulted?" Reginald's eyebrows rose. "That's a serious accusation." "It's not an accusation. It's a fact. I witnessed it." Reginald turned to Ava, expression shifting to concern, paternal, warm, utterly false. "Ava, dear, are you all right? Let me call Dr. Patterson." "She doesn't need your doctor," Logan cut in. "She needs to file a police report." Reginald's warmth vanished. "I don't believe I was speaking to you. And I don't believe I care." Logan stepped between them. "I know who you are, Mr. Whittaker. I know what your son is. And I know exactly how many times you've made problems like this disappear." The lobby went still. Reginald's eyes narrowed. "Be very careful about your next words, sailor." "I'm not threatening anyone," Logan replied. "I'm making a promise. If anything happens to this woman, tonight, tomorrow, or any day after, I will make it my personal mission to ensure every crime your family has ever committed sees daylight." For a moment, something flickered in Reginald's eyes, perhaps fear, then vanished behind the smooth mask of power. "You have no idea who you're threatening." "I'm not threatening anyone, Mr. Whittaker. I'm making a promise." Logan turned to Ava. "Come on, I'm taking you to a hospital." "She has a shift to finish," Reginald said sharply. "Her shift is over." Logan's voice cut like steel. "She works for you. She doesn't belong to you. There's a difference, one I suspect your son hasn't learned yet." Reginald's face flushed, then paled, his hands clenched at his sides. "This isn't finished," he said quietly. "Not by a long shot." "On that," Logan answered, "we agree." He guided Ava toward the entrance. Titan walked close at her other side. Behind them, Reginald Whittaker stood alone in the empty lobby, expression unreadable, but in his pocket, his phone buzzed with a text from his son. "Handle it, or I will." Reginald typed back one word. "Done." Outside, the winter air struck Ava like a wall. She shivered, realizing she had left her coat inside. Without a word, Logan shrugged off his camouflage jacket and draped it over her shoulders. It was heavy, warm, and smelled faintly of cedar and gun oil. "You'll freeze," she protested weakly. "I've been colder." Logan scanned the parking lot, body tense, alert. "Where's your car?" "I don't have one. I take the bus." "The bus doesn't run this late." "I know. I usually walk." Logan stopped. "You walk home at this hour in this neighborhood." "It's only a few miles." He shook his head slowly. "Jesus." Ava felt heat rise in her cheeks. Shame, maybe. "Not everyone can afford." "I'm not judging you," Logan said softly. "I'm angry for you. There's a difference." Ava didn't know how to answer. In her experience, anger had always been directed at her, never for her. Come on, he said. I'll drive you home. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. He met her eyes. Let me help you, please. That single word, please, cracked something inside her, a wall she hadn't realized she was holding. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Logan's truck was a battered Ford F-150, at least 15 years old, mud on the wheel wells, dent in the passenger door. Titan jumped into the back seat with practiced ease and settled with his head on his paws. Sorry about the mess, Logan said as Ava climbed in. I've been driving for days. From where? California. My SEAL team just finished a training rotation. You drove across the country. Titan doesn't like planes. Logan started the engine. Where am I going? Ava gave him the address. A rundown apartment complex on the east side, in a neighborhood where police sirens were lullabies and gunshots were alarm clocks. Logan didn't comment. He simply drove. For a while, neither spoke. The heater hummed, thawing Ava's frozen fingers. In the back, Titan's breathing was steady, calm. Why are you really here? Ava finally asked. In Virginia, I mean. This doesn't seem like a vacation spot. Logan was quiet for a long moment. There's a VA hospital about 15 miles from here, St. Christopher's. I know it. My mother is there. Logan glanced at her. Your mother? Cancer, stage 3. She's been fighting for 2 years. I'm sorry. Me too. Ava stared out at the passing streetlights. She's the reason I took this job. The Imperial Royale pays better than most hotels. Better tips, better overtime. She gave a hollow laugh. I thought I was being smart. You were being brave. Those aren't the same thing, but they're both valuable. Ava turned to look at him. Why are you going to St. Christopher's? Logan's hands tightened on the wheel. There's a man there. His name is Captain Daniel Reed. He was my mentor, taught me everything I know about being a SEAL, about being a man. He paused. He has weeks left, maybe less. I'm sorry. Don't be. He lived well. He served his country. He made a difference. That's more than most people can say. They drove in silence for several minutes. Then Ava said, You didn't have to intervene tonight. You could have walked away. Most people would have. I'm not most people. I can see that. Ava pulled his jacket tighter around her shoulders. What happens now? Colton isn't going to let this go. His father definitely won't. I know. So what do we do? Logan pulled to a stop in front of her building. Cracked windows, graffiti on the walls, a flickering streetlight buzzing like an angry wasp. He kept his expression neutral. For tonight, he said, you get some sleep. Lock your door. Don't open it for anyone. And tomorrow? Tomorrow, I start asking questions. He met her eyes. There's something wrong in that hotel. More than just a spoiled rich kid with a temper. I felt it the moment I walked in, and I'm going to find out what it is. Ava wanted to argue, to tell him this wasn't his fight, that the Whitakers would destroy him too. But she was so tired of fighting alone. Thank you, she said, for everything. Don't thank me yet, we're just getting started. Ava opened the door and stepped into the cold. Titan whined softly from the back seat. She turned and scratched his ears one last time. Take care of him, she told the dog. He seems like someone who forgets to take care of himself. Titan's tail wagged. Logan almost smiled. I'll check on you tomorrow. Keep my number close. Ava nodded. She walked toward her building, then stopped and looked back. Logan. Yeah? The man at the hospital, your mentor, what did he teach you that was so important? Logan was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. That the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Ava stood in the cold December air, those words echoing in her ears. Then she turned and walked inside. The moment her door closed, Ava sank to the floor. The tears came, great, heaving sobs that shook her whole body. She pressed a hand to her mouth, terrified the neighbors would hear. She cried for the pain in her face, her wrist, her ribs. She cried for her mother wasting away in a hospital bed. She cried for herself, trapped in a life that felt like quicksand, no matter how hard she fought. And she cried for something else, something she couldn't name but felt with overwhelming force. Hope. Terrible, dangerous, devastating hope. Because for the first time in longer than she could remember, someone had seen her, really seen her. And instead of looking away, he had stepped forward. Ava didn't know who Logan Pierce really was. She didn't know why he had intervened or what he planned next. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Tonight, everything had changed. Miles away in the penthouse suite of the Imperial Royale, Colton Whitaker hurled a crystal decanter against the wall. "Who does he think he is?" he screamed. "Some washed-up sailor thinks he can threaten me in my own hotel." His father sat in a leather chair, watching with cold patience. "Are you finished?" "Finished? I'm just getting started. I want him destroyed. I want him court-martialed. I want—" "You want," Reginald cut in, voice slicing through the tantrum like a blade. "That's always been your problem, son. You want without thinking. You take without calculating. And now your wants have created a problem." Colton went still. "What do you mean?" Reginald rose and walked to the window. The city glittered below, Christmas lights twinkling with false cheer. "I mean that man is no ordinary sailor. I made some calls. Lieutenant Commander Logan Pierce, United States Navy SEALs. 3 combat tours, 2 Bronze Stars, a Silver Star. Classified operations across 4 continents." Reginald's jaw tightened. "He's killed more men than you've hired." Colton's face drained of color. "So what do we do?" "We do nothing, for now." Reginald turned. "You stay away from that receptionist. You stay away from that sailor. And you keep your temper under control until I figure out how to make this disappear." "And if he talks? If he goes to the police?" Reginald smiled. It wasn't pleasant. "The police chief owes me his career, the district attorney owes me his house, and Senator Morrison owes me things I won't mention in polite company." He picked up his phone. "Logan Pierce may be dangerous, but in this city, I am more dangerous still." Colton nodded slowly, fear giving way to something uglier. "What about the girl?" Reginald's eyes hardened. "What about her?" "She'll talk. She'll file a report. She'll do nothing." Reginald's voice was ice. "Because by morning she won't have a job to protect, she won't have a reputation to defend, and she won't have a single person in this city willing to believe a word she says." Colton smiled. "And, if that doesn't work," Reginald Whitaker stared out at the city he owned, the city he controlled, the city where justice was just another commodity to be bought and sold. "Then we move to Plan B." "What's Plan B?" Reginald didn't answer. He didn't need to. In his truck parked outside Ava's building, Logan Pierce sat in darkness. He hadn't driven away. He wouldn't, not until he was certain she was safe for the night. Titan rested his head on the center console, amber eyes watching his handler with quiet concern. "I know, boy," Logan murmured, scratching behind the dog's ears. "I know." He pulled out his phone and dialed a number from memory. It rang twice before a gruff voice answered. "You have any idea what time it is?" "Hello to you too, Morrow." Commander David Morrow, Naval Intelligence retired, groaned. "Pierce, I swear if you're calling about another conspiracy—" "No theory this time, just a name. Reginald Whitaker." Silence on the other end. "Where did you hear that name?" Logan's grip tightened. "His son just beat a woman half to death in front of me. Why? What do you know?" Another long pause. Then Morrow's voice returned. Lower. Careful. "Reginald Whitaker is on 3 federal watch lists: human trafficking, money laundering, possible connections to organized crime in Eastern Europe. We've been trying to build a case for 5 years. What's stopping you?" "Evidence keeps disappearing. Witnesses keep recanting. 2 FBI agents who got too close ended up dead. Car accidents officially. Unofficially." Morrow trailed off. Logan stared at Ava's building, at the flickering streetlight, at the shadows gathering like wolves. "Morrow, I need everything you have on him. Every file, every suspicion, every rumor. Pierce, listen to me. This isn't some Taliban warlord you can drop from a hillside. Whitaker has connections you can't imagine. If you go after him—" "I'm not going after him." Logan's voice was quiet, steady, certain. "I'm going through him." Morrow was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. I'll send what I have. But Pierce, be careful. The last man who tried to take down Reginald Whittaker is in a grave somewhere in Chesapeake Bay. Understood. Logan hung up. Titan whined softly. I know, boy, Logan said again. But we've faced worse odds, and we're still here. He looked up at Ava's window. A single light glowed behind thin curtains. She was still awake, still afraid. But not alone. Not anymore. Logan started the truck and finally drove away. Mind already calculating angles, analyzing threats, planning approaches. He had come to Virginia to say goodbye to a dying friend. Instead, he had found a war. And Lieutenant Commander Logan Pierce had never lost a war in his life. He wasn't about to start now. Ava didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the old building made her jump. Every shadow felt like a threat. Early the next morning, her phone rang. She grabbed it with trembling hands. Hello, Miss Sinclair. The voice was crisp, professional, unfamiliar. This is Helen Crawford from Human Resources at the Imperial Royale. You're required to report to the administrative office at 8 sharp. Ava's heart stopped. I have the morning shift at the front desk. Your shift has been reassigned. 8 o'clock. Don't be late. The line went dead. Ava stared at the phone. She knew what this meant. She had known since Colton's first slap landed. But she dressed anyway. She pinned her hair back into its neat bun. She covered the bruise on her cheek with makeup she couldn't afford. And she walked out, with her head held high. Because Ava Sinclair had learned something in 22 years of poverty. Dignity was the one thing no one could take from you unless you let them. The administrative office was on the top floor, in a wing regular employees never entered. Ava showed her ID 3 times before they let her through. The conference room was deliberately cold. Ava sat in a hard chair and waited, hands folded in her lap, heart pounding in her throat. The door opened. Reginald Whittaker entered first, followed by a sharp-featured woman in her 40s carrying a leather folder like a weapon. Miss Sinclair, Reginald said, voice warm, concerned, paternal. Thank you for coming on such short notice. How are you feeling this morning? Ava didn't answer. Silence was sometimes the only armor the powerless had. Reginald sat across from her. The woman remained standing, watching Ava with eyes that missed nothing. This is Margaret Chen, Reginald said. Our corporate counsel. She's here to help us resolve this unfortunate situation. Situation, Ava repeated quietly. The incident last night. Reginald leaned forward, expression perfectly calibrated for sympathy. I want you to know how deeply sorry I am. My son's behavior was inexcusable. Ava waited. There was always a but. But, Reginald continued, I'm sure you can understand the complexity. Colton has been under tremendous pressure lately. The stress of running the family business, the expectations placed upon him. He beat me. The words hung in the air, simple, undeniable. Reginald's mask flickered for a moment. He made a mistake, he said carefully. A serious mistake. And he's prepared to make amends. Margaret Chen opened her folder and slid a document across the table. This is a settlement agreement. In exchange for your signature on a non-disclosure clause, the Whittaker family is prepared to offer you a one-time payment of $50,000. Ava's breath caught. $50,000. Her mother's treatment cost $6,000 a month. $50,000 would buy almost a year of hope, a year of fighting. All you have to do, Reginald said softly, is sign this paper stating you fell and injured yourself accidentally. A simple misunderstanding. No harm, no foul. Ava looked at the document. The numbers swam before her eyes. She thought of her mother's thin face, her tired eyes, her voice saying, Don't worry about me, sweetheart. I'll be fine. But her mother wouldn't be fine. They both knew it. Without treatment, she had months, maybe less. Ava's hand moved toward the pen, then stopped. She thought of Isabella from housekeeping who had quit without explanation, of the others who had transferred away, of the girls who had vanished. How many had sat in this same chair? How many had taken the money? How many had signed away their voices so Colton Whittaker could keep hunting? No. The word came out small but certain. Reginald blinked. I'm sorry? I said no. Ava pushed the document back. I won't sign it. Margaret Chen's expression didn't change, but something shifted behind her eyes. Miss Sinclair, I don't think you understand the generosity of this offer. I understand perfectly. Ava stood. Her legs shook, but her voice was steady. Your client's son assaulted me. He hit me. He grabbed my hair. He threatened me. And you want me to sign a piece of paper saying it never happened? Miss Sinclair. My name is Ava. She met Reginald's eyes. And the answer is no. Reginald's warmth evaporated. In its place was something cold, hard, and very dangerous. Sit down. I'd rather stand. I said sit down. Ava didn't move. Reginald rose slowly. He was taller than she'd realized. With the mask finally off, he was terrifying. Do you have any idea what you're doing? His voice was soft, almost gentle. That made it worse. Do you have any idea what I can do to you? I have some idea. No, you don't. He stepped closer. I can make sure you never work in this city again. I can make sure your mother's hospital bills become someone else's problem. I can make sure every landlord, every employer, every person you've ever known suddenly decides Ava Sinclair isn't worth the trouble. Ava's heart pounded so hard she could barely breathe, but she didn't look away. You can do all of that, she said quietly, but you can't make me lie. Something flickered in Reginald's eyes. Not respect, but something close to surprise. The surprise of a predator meeting prey that refused to run. You're fired, he said flatly. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Fine. And Miss Sinclair. Reginald smiled. The most frightening thing Ava had ever seen. If you speak to anyone about what happened, the police, the press, anyone, I will destroy you. Not just your career, not just your reputation. You. Ava turned and walked toward the door. Her hands shook. Her knees were weak. But she kept walking. At the door she paused. Mr. Whitaker. What? Your son didn't just make a mistake last night. He made an enemy. Ava looked back over her shoulder. So did you. She walked out. Security escorted her down in the service elevator, the one for trash and dirty laundry. They didn't let her collect her belongings. They didn't let her say goodbye. They deposited her on the sidewalk like garbage and went back inside. Ava stood in the cold morning air, bun coming loose, makeup doing nothing to hide the bruise that had darkened overnight. She had no job, no income, no way to pay her mother's bills. But she had her voice, and she had refused to sell it. That had to count for something. It had to. A battered Ford F-150 pulled to the curb. Logan Pierce stepped out, tightened at his heels. He took one look at Ava's face and understood everything. They fired you. Ava nodded. If she spoke, she would cry. And if she cried, she would break. Logan didn't offer sympathy. He didn't offer platitudes. He simply opened the passenger door. Get in! Ava climbed in. Titan jumped into the back and immediately pressed his nose against her shoulder. She reached back and buried her fingers in his fur, holding on like a lifeline. Logan drove in silence for several minutes. Then he asked, Did you sign anything? No. Did you admit to anything? No. Did you threaten them back? Ava almost laughed. I told them they'd made an enemy. Logan glanced at her. Good. Good? Ava shook her head. I just lost my job. I have no savings. My mother's treatment costs $6,000 a month. How is any of this good? Because you're still free. Logan's voice was quiet but certain. The moment you sign their paper, you become their property. Your silence becomes their weapon. Your shame becomes their shield. He stopped at a red light and met her eyes. You chose freedom over money. That's not nothing, Ava. That's everything. Ava wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. What do I do now? She whispered. Now we fight. Fight how? They own the city. You heard what he said. I heard a scared man making threats. Logan pulled out his phone. Reginald Whitaker thinks he's untouchable because no one's ever touched him. But I know people who've spent their careers touching untouchable men. What people? Friends from my old life. Intelligence officers, federal investigators, the kind who don't impress easily and don't scare at all. Ava stared at him. Why are you doing this? This isn't your fight. Logan was quiet for a long moment. The light turned green. He drove. Finally, he spoke. My wife's name was Catherine. We met when I was 23, just finished BUD/S. She was a nurse at the base hospital. Prettiest smile I ever saw. Logan's hands tightened on the wheel. She worked for a hospital administrator in San Diego. A powerful man. A connected man. When she discovered he was falsifying patient records, billing insurance for procedures that never happened, she reported him. Ava waited, sensing the weight. The investigation went nowhere. Witnesses disappeared. Evidence vanished. And then one night, Catherine was driving home and a truck ran a red light, hit her driver's side at 60 miles an hour. Ava's hand flew to her mouth. The driver was never found. The case was closed as an accident. Logan's voice was hollow. But I knew. I've always known. And I promised myself that if I ever had the chance to stop another man like that, I wouldn't hesitate. Logan, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be angry. He looked at her, eyes burning with a fire that had smoldered for years. I couldn't save Catherine, but I can help you. And I will, no matter what it costs. Ava didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. They drove to St. Christopher's Fire Hospital in silence. Lillian Sinclair was having a good day. She was sitting up in bed when Ava and Logan entered. Her thin face brightened at the sight of her daughter. Ava, sweetheart, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be at work? Ava had promised herself she wouldn't cry. The promise lasted 3 seconds. She collapsed into her mother's arms and sobbed. The whole story poured out. Colton's assault, Logan's intervention, Reginald's threats, her firing. Everything she had held back came flooding out in a torrent of pain and fear. Lillian held her daughter and let her cry. Her frail arms were surprisingly strong. Her voice stayed steady as she murmured comfort. When Ava finally calmed, Lillian looked up at Logan, who had remained near the door, giving them privacy. You're the one who helped her. Logan nodded. Yes, ma'am. Come here. Logan approached the bed. Lillian took his hand in both of hers. Her grip was weak, but warm. Thank you, she said simply. Thank you for protecting my baby. I only did what anyone should have done. No. Lillian shook her head. You did what no one else would do. There's a difference. She studied his face with eyes that saw more than most. You've lost someone. Someone you couldn't protect. Logan didn't flinch, but something in his eyes shifted. Yes, ma'am. Then you understand why this matters. Lillian squeezed his hand. You understand why my daughter matters. I do. Lillian nodded slowly. Then she turned to Ava. You did the right thing, sweetheart. You refused to sell your soul, even when they offered money you desperately needed. I've never been prouder of you. But Mom, your treatment is not more important than your integrity. Lillian's voice was firm. I would rather die with a daughter who has her honor than live because she sold it. Ava started crying again. Logan stepped back, giving them space. But as he watched mother and daughter hold each other, something hardened in his chest. Reginald Whittaker had made a mistake. He had threatened a woman who had no one to protect her. Now she had someone. And that someone had spent 20 years learning how to dismantle men who thought they were gods. Logan stepped into the hallway and dialed Morrow. Tell me you have something. I have a lot of somethings. Morrow's voice was grim. You want the bad news or the worst news? Start talking. The Imperial Royale is a front, flagged in 3 separate federal investigations: human trafficking, money laundering, tax evasion. Every investigation shut down within 6 months. How? Witnesses recant. Evidence disappears. Investigators get transferred, or retire early. Morrow paused. Or die. How many dead? 2 FBI agents, 1 IRS auditor, a local reporter who got too close. Morrow's voice dropped. And at least 15 women connected to the hotel who have simply vanished over the past decade. Logan felt ice spread through his veins. Vanished how? No forwarding addresses, no family contact. Some had police reports filed about Colton Whittaker right before they disappeared. The reports were withdrawn or dismissed. Jesus. It gets worse. I found a pattern in the guest registry. Certain VIP suites booked under shell companies, always the same 3, always paid in cash, always for one night. And the women who work those floors have a turnover rate of about 6 weeks. Logan closed his eyes. He knew what that meant. He had seen it overseas. The trafficking networks. The girls moved like cargo. The men who treated human beings like commodities. I need names, Logan said. Companies, contacts, anyone involved. I can get you some. But Pierce, listen to me. This is bigger than one rich kid with a temper. The Whitaker operation has connections to organized crime in Eastern Europe. These are not people who negotiate. They eliminate. Then we'll have to eliminate them first. Silence on the line. You're serious? Dead serious. Logan looked back through the window at Ava holding her mother's hand. I'm not letting them hurt anyone else. Whatever it takes. Morrow sighed heavily. I'll send you everything, but Pierce, watch your back. These people have eyes everywhere. So do I. Logan hung up and returned to the room. We need to talk, he said, but not here. Ava looked up, face still streaked with tears. What's wrong? Everything. Logan's jaw tightened. And nothing you can hear in front of your mother. Lillian's eyes narrowed. Young man, if this concerns my daughter, it concerns me. Mom, with respect, I may be dying, Commander Pierce, but I'm not deaf and I'm not stupid. Lillian's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. Whatever you found, I want to know. Logan hesitated. Then he pulled a chair close to the bed. The Whitakers aren't just wealthy bullies. They're criminals. Serious criminals. The hotel is a front for human trafficking, and the women who've tried to speak out against Colton over the years have disappeared. Ava's face went white. Disappeared? At least 15 that we know of, maybe more. Lillian's hand tightened on her daughter's. And you think they might try to disappear Ava? I think they've already threatened to. Reginald told her he would destroy her. Men like him don't make idle threats. So what do we do? Ava's voice was barely a whisper. We go on the offensive. Logan leaned forward. I have contacts in federal law enforcement, people who've been building a case against the Whitakers for years. If we can give them evidence, real, solid evidence that can't be buried, we can bring the whole operation down. What kind of evidence? Ava asked. Witnesses, documents, financial records, and testimony from someone who experienced Colton's violence firsthand and refused to be silenced. You mean me? I mean you. Ava was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Isabella from housekeeping. Who? She quit last month, right after working a shift on the VIP floor. She wouldn't tell anyone why, but I saw bruises on her arms, the same kind Colton gave me. Logan pulled out his phone. Do you have her contact information? No, but I know where she lives. We used to take the same bus. Can you take me there? Ava looked at her mother. Lillian nodded slowly. Go, she said. Find the truth, and when you do, burn them down. Mom! I mean it. Lillian's eyes were fierce. These men have hurt too many people. It's time someone stopped them. She looked at Logan. You take care of my daughter. With my life, ma'am. See that you do. They found Isabella Morales in a cramped apartment on the south side, 4 blocks from the bus stop where Ava used to see her every morning. When Isabella opened the door and saw Ava, her face went pale. Ava, what are you... Her eyes darted to Logan, then to Titan, then back to Ava. You shouldn't be here. I know, but I need to talk to you. I can't. I told you I can't. Colton attacked me last night. He hit me right in the hotel lobby, in front of witnesses. Ava stepped closer. I refused to sign their settlement. I refused to stay silent, and now they fired me and threatened to destroy my life. Isabella's hands were shaking. Ava, you don't understand. Then help me understand. Ava's voice broke. Please, Isabella. I know something happened to you. I know they hurt you too. If we work together, they'll keep hurting people. Isabella's voice was barely audible. You don't know what they do to girls who talk. You don't know what happens in those basement rooms. Logan stepped forward. What basement rooms? Isabella looked at him. Really looked for the first time. Something in his posture, his bearing, his steady eyes reached her. Who are you? My name is Logan Pierce. I'm a Navy SEAL. I've spent 20 years protecting people from men like the Whitakers. Isabella's lip trembled. Can you protect me? Yes. Can you promise they won't find me? I can promise that if they try, they'll regret it. Isabella stood there for a long moment, body tense with fear. Then slowly, she stepped back from the door. Come in and lock it behind you. The story Isabella told made Ava's blood run cold. The VIP floors weren't for hotel guests. They were for girls, young women, some barely 18, brought in through a network stretching from Eastern Europe to South America. They arrived in the middle of the night, stayed a few days, then vanished. They told us they were temporary workers, Isabella whispered, that they were here on training programs. But I saw their faces. I saw the fear in their eyes, and I heard what happened behind those doors. What did you hear? Logan asked quietly. Isabella couldn't meet his eyes. Screaming, crying, and sometimes silence. The worst kind of silence. What happened to you? Isabella's hand moved unconsciously to her arm, covering the spot where Ava had once seen bruises. I was assigned to clean one of the VIP suites. The door was supposed to be locked, but someone left it open. I went inside and her voice broke. There was blood on the sheets, on the floor, and Colton Whitaker was standing there with a girl who couldn't have been more than 17. Ava's hand flew to her mouth. He saw me. He grabbed me. He said if I ever told anyone what I saw, he would make me disappear like the others. Logan and Ava exchanged looks. Isabella, Logan said, I need you to tell this story to someone. A federal prosecutor. Someone who can actually stop these people. I can't. They have people everywhere. The police, the courts. Not everyone. Logan pulled out his phone. I have a contact at the FBI's human-trafficking task force. Her name is Special Agent Lauren Hayes. She's been building a case against the Whitakers for 3 years. She's been waiting for a witness brave enough to come forward. Isabella's eyes widened. The FBI is investigating them. Yes, but they need evidence. They need testimony. They need someone who saw what you saw. And if I testify, what happens to me? Witness protection, new identity, new life. They can't touch you. Isabella looked at Ava. Are you going to testify too? Ava nodded slowly. I don't have a choice. If I don't, they'll just keep hurting people. And if we fail, if they find out and come for us, Logan's voice was iron, then they'll have to go through me first. Isabella was quiet for a long moment. Her hands had stopped shaking. Something had changed in her eyes, fear giving way to something harder, something that looked almost like hope. Okay, she whispered. I'll do it. I'll tell them everything. Logan called Agent Hayes from Isabella's apartment. I have 2 witnesses, he said without preamble. Both women, both with first-hand experience of Colton Whitaker's violence. One of them saw evidence of trafficking. Hayes was silent for exactly 3 seconds. Then, where are you? Logan gave her the address. Don't move, I'll be there in an hour. And Hayes, these women are in danger, real danger. I know. I've been tracking the Whitakers long enough to know exactly what they're capable of. But I've also been waiting long enough. This is the break we've needed. We're not going to waste it. She hung up. Logan lowered his phone and turned to Ava and Isabella. We have 1 hour before the FBI arrives. I need you both to write down everything you remember, every detail, every name, every date. The more specific you are, the stronger the case. Ava nodded, but her face was pale. Logan, what if this doesn't work? What if they bury this investigation like all the others? They won't. How can you be sure? Logan looked at her, and something in his expression made her breath catch. Because I'm not going to let them. Outside Isabella's apartment, a black SUV idled at the corner. Inside, a man in an expensive suit spoke quietly into his phone. We have a problem. The receptionist found Morales, and there's a Navy officer with them. Reginald Whitaker's voice came through, cold and clear. What kind of Navy officer? SEAL, the same one from last night. Silence on the line. Then Reginald spoke again, voice barely a whisper. Handle it. Sir, I said handle it. Morales knows too much. And if Pierce thinks he can threaten my family, he needs to learn what happens to threats in my city. The man in the SUV nodded slowly. Understood. He hung up and made another call. Mobilize the team. 3 targets, apartment 4B. The response came back in one word. Done. Inside the apartment, Titan's ears pricked forward. A low growl rumbled in his throat. Logan was instantly alert. What is it, boy? Titan moved to the window, body tense, amber eyes fixed on something outside. Logan followed his gaze. A black SUV, tinted windows, engine running. Get away from the windows, Logan said sharply. Now! Ava and Isabella scrambled back. What's happening? Ava asked, voice tight with fear. Logan was already moving, checking door locks, scanning for exits. They found us. Logan moved fast. 20 years of combat training took over, body operating on instinct, while his mind calculated angles and options. Back door? Is there a back door? Isabella shook her head, face white with terror. Fire escape! Through the bedroom window. Go both of you, now. Ava grabbed Isabella's arm. What about you? I'll be right behind you, move. Titan was already at the bedroom door, body tense, ears flat. He knew the rhythm of danger as well as Logan did. Ava and Isabella ran. Logan pulled his phone and dialed Hayes. She answered on the first ring. We've got company. Black SUV outside. Armed hostiles. Unknown number. I'm getting the witnesses out through the fire escape. I need backup at the front door. The door exploded inward. Logan dropped the phone and moved. The first man through was big, professional, carrying himself like ex-military. He had half a second to register Logan before a fist connected with his throat. He went down, choking. The second man was faster. He got his weapon up, but Titan was already airborne. 80 pounds of trained military canine hit him in the chest. The gun went flying. The man screamed as Titan's jaws found his forearm. Hold, Logan commanded. Titan held, teeth locked, but not crushing. The man writhed beneath him, sobbing with pain and fear. A third figure appeared in the doorway, one of Colton's friends from the lobby, the one who had been recording. The man had a gun aimed at Logan's head. Don't move, sailor boy. Logan went still. Call off the dog. Titan. Titan released his grip but stayed on the man's chest. His growl was low, constant, a warning that needed no translation. Smart. The gunman stepped inside, keeping his weapon trained on Logan. Mr. Whitaker wants to have a conversation with you. I'm not much of a talker. That's okay. He doesn't need you to talk. He just needs you to listen. The gunman smiled. And then he needs you to disappear. Logan heard it then. Footsteps on the fire escape. Multiple sets moving up. They had men outside too. Ava and Isabella were walking into a trap. Ava! Logan shouted. Go back! Go! The gunman pistol whipped him across the face. Logan staggered but didn't fall. Blood poured from a cut above his eye. Shut up! The gunman snarled. One more word and I put a bullet in your skull. Logan said nothing, but his eyes tracked to the window, calculating, planning. 3 seconds later he heard Ava scream. Something broke inside him. Then something that had been carefully controlled for 20 years. Catherine's face flashed through his mind. Catherine screaming, Catherine dying, Catherine whom he couldn't save. Not again. Never again. Logan moved. The gunman fired. But Logan was already inside his guard. He grabbed the weapon, twisted, felt bones snap. The gun discharged into the ceiling. Logan drove his elbow into the man's temple once, twice. The gunman dropped. Logan didn't stop to check if he was breathing. He grabbed the fallen weapon and sprinted for the bedroom. Titan calm. The German shepherd was at his side in an instant, leaving the second man whimpering on the floor. Logan hit the bedroom at full speed. The window was open. The fire escape was empty. But on the landing below, 2 men were dragging Ava and Isabella toward a waiting van. Ava was fighting. God, she was fighting so hard. Kicking, scratching, biting. One of the men backhanded her across the face. She went limp. Logan didn't think. He jumped. 2 stories. He hit the ground, rolling, absorbing the impact with his shoulder. Pain exploded through his body, but he was already up, already moving. The first man turned just in time to catch Logan's fist with his face. He went down and didn't get up. The second man dropped Isabella and reached for his weapon. Titan hit him before he could draw. This time Logan didn't call the dog off. The man's screams echoed off the alley walls. as Titan's jaws found his shoulder and tore. "Ava!" Logan dropped to his knees beside her. "Ava, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open. Blood trickled from her split lip, the same lip Colton had split nights ago. "Logan, I'm here." "You're safe. Can you stand?" Ava nodded weakly. Logan helped her up, supporting most of her weight. Isabella was already on her feet, eyes wild with terror. "There are more of them," she said. "I heard them on the radio. More are coming." Sirens wailed in the distance. "Hayes, this way." Logan guided them toward the mouth of the alley. "FBI is coming. We just need to—" A black SUV screeched to a halt, blocking their exit. The doors opened. Colton Whitaker stepped out. He wasn't in his expensive suit anymore. He wore black tactical gear, like a child playing soldier, but the gun in his hand was very real. "Going somewhere?" Logan pushed Ava behind him. Titan crouched at his side, growl building in his chest. "It's over, Colton. The FBI is minutes out. You can't disappear all of us." "Watch me." Colton's eyes were wild, desperate, the eyes of a man who had never been told no and couldn't process reality when it finally arrived. "You think you're some kind of hero? You think you can swoop in and save the day? I think you're going to prison. Whether it's for trafficking or murder is up to you." "Murder?" Colton laughed. "Insane. Unhinged. You don't understand. Nobody touches my family. Nobody threatens what we've built. Not the FBI. Not some washed-up Navy grunt. Nobody. Your father built an empire on suffering. It's going to fall. Tonight, tomorrow, next week. It's going to fall. The only question is whether you fall with it." Colton's gun hand trembled. "Shut up. You could walk away right now," Logan said quietly. "Testify against your father. Cut a deal. You're young enough to rebuild a life." I said shut up. "Or you can pull that trigger and spend the rest of your life in a cage. Your choice, Colton. Your choice." The sirens were getting closer. Colton's eyes darted toward the sound, then back to Logan. "You know what my father always told me?" Colton's voice cracked. "He said the strong take what they want. The weak give it away, and anyone who gets in your way is just an obstacle to be removed." "Your father is wrong." "My father is never wrong." "Your father is a monster, and you're becoming one just like him." Something shifted in Colton's face. For just a moment, Logan saw something human behind the rage, something broken. Then it was gone. "Say goodbye, hero." Colton raised the gun. 2 gunshots split the night. But they didn't come from Colton's weapon. Colton staggered, eyes wide with shock. He looked down at his chest, 2 red flowers blooming against black tactical fabric. His gun clattered to the ground. He fell to his knees. Special Agent Lauren Hayes emerged from behind the SUV, weapon still raised, face hard as stone.
"Federal agent, everyone on the ground, now!"
The driver of the SUV, one of Reginald's security men, threw his hands up and dropped. Hayes moved forward, kicking Colton's gun away, eyes never leaving Logan. "Pierce, I'm good. The witnesses are intact." Hayes looked at Ava and Isabella huddled behind Logan, then at Colton bleeding on the ground. "EMS is 2 minutes out. We need to secure this scene." "There are more inside the building," Logan said. "At least 3 down." Hayes spoke into her radio, calling for additional units. More sirens converged on the alley. Colton was still conscious, breath coming in ragged gasps. He looked up at Logan with eyes that held neither fear nor remorse, only confusion. "I don't understand," he whispered. "I was supposed to win. I always win." Logan crouched beside him, not gently, not with sympathy. "You lost the moment you thought you were above consequences. Every bully does, eventually." "My father." "Your father is next." Colton's eyes widened. Then they rolled back and he slumped to the ground. Hayes holstered her weapon. "He'll live, more's the pity. You got here fast." "I was already on my way when you called. Had a team staged 3 blocks out." Hayes met Logan's eyes. "I've been waiting for this night for 3 years, Pierce. 3 years of watching the Whitakers destroy people and getting told to stand down." "Who told you to stand down?" "People above my pay grade. People who got phone calls from senators, judges, police commissioners." Hayes' jaw tightened. "But tonight they crossed a line. Attempted murder of federal witnesses. Attempted murder of a Navy officer. Even Reginald Whittaker can't bury that. Don't underestimate him. I'm not, which is why we're moving now. Hayes turned to Ava and Isabella. Ladies, I need you to come with me. We have a safe house prepared. Ava looked at Logan. What about you? I'll be fine. Go with Agent Hayes. She'll keep you safe. Logan. Ava's voice broke. Thank you for everything. Logan nodded once. Don't thank me yet. This isn't over. I know. Ava reached out and touched his arm. But you didn't have to do any of this. You could have walked away that first night. You could have left me in that lobby and pretended you didn't see. No. Logan's voice was quiet. I couldn't. Ava held his gaze for a long moment. Then Hayes led her and Isabella toward a waiting FBI vehicle. Logan watched them go. Then he looked down at Colton Whittaker, unconscious and bleeding on the concrete. One down, he murmured. One to go. Titan pressed against his leg. Logan reached down to scratch behind the dog's ears. Come on, boy, we've got work to do. Reginald Whittaker learned about his son's arrest late that night. He was in his penthouse office when his personal lawyer called with the news. For 30 seconds, Reginald said nothing. His face showed nothing. Then he very carefully set down the phone and swept everything off his desk. Crystal decanters shattered, papers flew, an antique lamp crashed against the wall. Sir? His security chief appeared in the doorway. Get out. I said, get out. The chief retreated. Reginald stood alone in his ruined office, breathing hard, manicured hands trembling with a rage he hadn't felt in decades. Colton, his idiot, impulsive, uncontrollable son. Everything Reginald had built, the empire, the connections, the carefully constructed web of power, was suddenly vulnerable because his son couldn't keep his hands to himself. The phone rang again. Reginald answered without looking at the caller ID. What? Mr. Whittaker. The voice was calm, accented, cold. Reginald went still. He knew that voice. Everyone in his organization knew that voice. Mr. Volkov, I was just about to call you. Where are you? The voice held no warmth, no flexibility. Then perhaps you can explain why my shipment was seized 2 hours ago, why 3 of my men are in federal custody, and why your son is currently in surgery at St. Mary's Hospital. Reginald's blood ran cold. The shipment was seized. The warehouse was raided, and every contact I have in Virginia is telling me the same thing. The FBI has turned off the lights. No more protection. No more blind eyes. A pause. Someone talked, Mr. Whittaker. Someone who knows about our arrangement. The receptionist, the one Colton couldn't leave alone. Yes, I know about her. I also know about the other woman, Isabella Morales, the one who saw too much last month. I was handling it. You were handling nothing. Your son created this mess, and now it's spreading. By morning, every federal agency in the country will be looking at your hotel, your accounts, and your connections. Reginald's hands were shaking. What do you want me to do? I want you to clean this up, permanently. How? The FBI has both women in protective custody. Then get to them before they testify. You have people inside. Use them. And the Navy officer, Pierce. Silence on the line. Then Volkov spoke again, voice barely a whisper. Lieutenant Commander Logan Pierce, former SEAL Team 6, 3 combat tours, classified operations across 4 continents. The man is a ghost, Mr. Whittaker. He has killed more professionals than your son has assaulted secretaries. So what do? We do nothing. My organization is already distancing itself from your operation. By tomorrow, every account will be closed. Every record will be erased. And everyone who can connect us to you will have new instructions. You're abandoning me. I'm protecting my investment. You should do the same. Another pause. One last piece of advice, Mr. Whittaker. The Navy officer is coming for you. He's already taken your son. He won't stop until he takes everything. Then I'll stop him first. You can try. Volkov almost sounded amused. Others have tried before. They're all dead. A click. Goodbye, Mr. Whittaker. It has been a profitable relationship. I'm sorry it has to end this way. The line went dead. Reginald stood frozen, the phone in his hand, the weight of everything crashing down around him. For the first time in 40 years, Reginald Whittaker was afraid. And that fear made him dangerous. The safe house was a nondescript townhouse in a federal housing complex, surrounded by unmarked vehicles and patrolled by agents who didn't smile. Ava sat in a bare room, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. Isabella was in the room next door, giving her statement to investigators. The door opened. Special Agent Lauren Hayes entered, face unreadable. "How are you holding up?" Ava almost laughed. "I've been threatened, assaulted, fired, kidnapped, and shot at in the past 48 hours. How do you think I'm holding up?" Hayes sat down across from her. "Fair point," she paused. "Is Logan okay?" "He's being treated for minor injuries. He'll be fine." Hayes paused again. "He refused to leave the hospital until we confirmed you were secure." Something warm flickered in Ava's chest. She pushed it down. Now was not the time. "What happens now?" "Now we build a case. Your testimony, Isabella's testimony, the evidence we seized tonight. It's more than we've ever had. Reginald Whitaker is going to prison." "You sound confident." "I am confident." Hayes leaned forward. "But I need to be honest with you, Ava. The Whitakers have powerful friends. Judges, politicians, law enforcement. Some of them will try to protect Reginald. Some will try to silence you." "I'm not going to be silenced." "I know." Hayes's expression softened. "You're braver than you know. Most people would have taken the money. Most people would have looked the other way." "I couldn't." Ava stared at her cold coffee. "I kept thinking about all the women before me, all the ones who signed those papers, all the ones who disappeared." Her voice dropped. "I couldn't be another name on that list." "You won't be." Hayes stood up. "Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." Hayes left. Ava sat alone in the silence, listening to the hum of the heater and the distant murmur of voices from other rooms. She thought about her mother still fighting in that hospital bed. She thought about Isabella pouring out her trauma to strangers. She thought about all the girls in those VIP suites, the ones whose names no one knew. And she thought about Logan, a stranger who had stepped between her and violence, a man who had lost his wife and channeled his grief into protecting others, a warrior who had found her in a hotel lobby and refused to look away. Ava didn't believe in fate. She had seen too much suffering to believe in a universe that cared. But sitting in that safe house, surrounded by federal agents who actually wanted to help, she allowed herself to wonder. Maybe God did put certain people in certain places at certain times. Maybe some witnesses were chosen. And maybe, just maybe, courage was contagious. Early the next morning, Logan walked through the doors of St. Christopher's Hospital. He was battered, face bruised, shoulder aching from the 2-story jump, but he kept walking. The night nurse recognized him immediately. "Commander Pierce, you should be resting. I need to see Lillian Sinclair, room 412. Sir, visiting hours are—" "Please." Something in his voice stopped her. She looked at his face, at the exhaustion and determination etched into every line. "5 minutes," she said quietly. "I didn't see you." Logan nodded his thanks and walked to the elevator. Lillian was awake when he entered. Her eyes, bright despite the illness ravaging her body, found him in the darkness. "You've been busy," she said. Logan sank into the chair beside her bed. "You could say that." "Is Ava safe?" "She's in FBI custody, protected, and the men who hurt her, one is in surgery down the hall, the others are in federal lockup." Lillian nodded slowly. "Good." They sat in silence for a moment. The machines beeped their steady rhythm. Outside, the world was dark and cold. "Why are you here, Commander Pierce?" Logan looked at his hands. "I don't know. I just needed to see you." "No." Lillian's voice was gentle but firm. "You needed someone to tell you that you did the right thing." Logan raised his eyes to meet hers. "You did," Lillian continued. "You protected my daughter. You fought for women you'd never met. You put yourself in harm's way for people who couldn't defend themselves." She reached out and took his hand. Her grip was weak but warm. "That's not nothing, Logan. That's everything." Logan felt something crack inside his chest, a wall he had built years ago. "I couldn't save my wife. I know. I've spent years trying to make up for that, trying to prove her death meant something." "And has it?" Logan was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. Some nights I think I've saved enough people to balance the scales. Other nights I close my eyes and see her face and it feels like nothing I do will ever be enough. Lillian squeezed his hand. Let me tell you something about grief, young man. It doesn't ask permission to stay. It doesn't care about balance or redemption or making things right. It just is. Her eyes glistened. But love is the same way. It doesn't ask permission either. It just shows up, sometimes in the most broken places, and it refuses to leave. I'm not sure I understand. You will. Lillian smiled. Take care of my daughter, Logan. Not because you owe her. Not because you're trying to make up for the past. But because she's worth caring for. And so are you. Logan couldn't speak. He just held her hand and let the tears fall. Outside the window, the first light of dawn was breaking over the horizon. A new day was beginning. And somewhere in that new day, justice was waiting. At dawn, Reginald Whittaker made his move. He'd spent the night calling in favors, burning through connections, liquidating assets. By morning, he had assembled the best lawyers money could buy and prepared a plan that would either save his empire or destroy everyone who threatened it. He wasn't running. Running was for cowards. Running was for men who didn't understand power. Reginald Whittaker understood power better than anyone, and he was about to show Logan Pierce exactly what that meant. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Reginald read it once, twice, 3 times. Then he smiled. The message was simple. The witness in room 412 is unprotected. Visiting hours begin at 8. Reginald deleted the message and began to dial. If Logan Pierce wanted a war, Reginald Whittaker would give him one. And this time, Reginald would make sure there were no survivors. Logan was still sitting beside Lillian's bed when his phone buzzed. A text from Morrow. Intercepted communication. Whittaker knows about room 412. Get her out now. Logan was on his feet before he finished reading. Lillian, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Lillian saw his face and understood immediately. They're coming. Yes, for you. To get to Ava, to get to me. Logan was already moving, checking the corridor through the narrow window in the door. I'm getting you out of here. Logan, I can barely walk. Then I'll carry you. Don't be ridiculous. I weigh 110. I've carried wounded men twice your size through worse places. Logan turned back to her, eyes hard. Lillian, I made a promise to your daughter. I intend to keep it. Lillian studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Help me up. Logan disconnected the monitors, ignoring the alarms that immediately shrieked. He wrapped Lillian in her blanket and lifted her as gently as he could. She weighed almost nothing. The cancer had stolen so much, but her arms went around his neck with surprising strength. Tighten. The German shepherd moved to the door, alert, ready. They stepped into the corridor. 2 nurses were already running toward them, drawn by the alarms. Sir, you can't... This woman is in danger. Call security. Tell them to lock down the 4th floor now. Something in his voice made them obey without question. Logan moved fast, military training taking over. Stairwell, not elevator. Harder to ambush in a stairwell. Titan ran ahead, checking each landing before Logan descended. They had made it to the 2nd floor when Logan heard footsteps above. Heavy, purposeful, multiple sets. They're in the building, he muttered. Lillian's grip tightened on his neck. Put me down. No. Logan, you can't fight while carrying me. Put me down and do what you do. I'm not leaving you. You're not leaving me. You're protecting me. Lillian's voice was fierce. I didn't survive 2 years of cancer to die in a stairwell. Put me down and stop these men. Logan hesitated for half a second. Then he set her down against the wall, positioning her behind the door. Stay here. Don't move. Don't make a sound. Logan. He turned back. Lillian grabbed his hand. Come back to me. My daughter needs you alive. Logan squeezed her hand once, then he was gone. The first man came through the stairwell door 30 seconds later. Professional, black tactical gear, suppressed weapon, moving with trained precision. But he wasn't expecting an ambush in the space between floors. Logan dropped from the landing above, arm around the man's throat, cutting off air and blood simultaneously. The man struggled. Logan held on. 4 seconds, 5, 6. The man went limp. Logan lowered him to the ground and took his weapon, a suppressed Glock 19. Footsteps above, at least 2 more. Logan pressed himself against the wall and waited. The second man came down cautiously, weapon raised. He saw his fallen partner and hesitated. That hesitation cost him everything. Logan fired twice, center mass. The man crumpled. The third man opened fire from above, bullets sparking off the metal railing. Logan rolled, returning fire, forcing the shooter back. "Titan, fast!" The German Shepherd exploded up the stairs like a missile. The third man screamed as 80 pounds of trained attack dog hit him. Logan followed, climbing the stairs 3 at a time. The third man was down, Titan's jaws locked around his gun arm. Titan, release. Titan released. Logan kicked the man's weapon away and drove his knee into the man's chest, pinning him. "How many more?" The man spat blood and said nothing. Logan pressed harder. "How many?" "Go to hell." "You first." Logan's voice was ice. "I'm going to ask one more time, then I'm going to let my dog finish what he started." Titan growled on cue, bloody muzzle inches from the man's face. The man's courage broke. 2 more outside in a van. "Who sent you?" "Whitaker, Reginald Whitaker." "Where is he?" "I don't know. We got our orders through a contact." Logan heard more footsteps coming up from below. "Titan, come." He left the third man groaning on the landing and sprinted back down to Lillian. She was exactly where he'd left her, face pale, eyes fierce. "How many?" 3 down, 2 more outside." Logan lifted her again. "We're going out the back. There's a service entrance through the basement." "How do you know?" Lillian almost smiled. "I've been in this hospital for months, Logan. I know every exit." They made it to the basement without encountering more hostiles. The service entrance opened onto a loading dock. Logan scanned the area. Clear. "Stay here." He stepped out onto the dock, weapon raised. Titan moved beside him, sniffing the air. Nothing. Logan pulled out his phone and called Hayes. "I need immediate extraction. St. Christopher's Hospital, rear loading dock. Lillian Sinclair is with me. Whitaker sent a team." "Already on my way, 4 minutes." "Make it 2. He hung up and returned to Lillian. She was sitting against the wall, breathing labored, face grey with exhaustion. The exertion had taken a terrible toll. "How are you holding up?" "I've been better." Lillian managed a weak smile. "But I've been worse too." Logan sat down beside her. Titan lay at her feet, amber eyes watchful. "Ava's going to kill me for putting you through this. Ava's going to thank you for keeping me alive." Lillian reached out and patted Titan's head. "Both of you." They sat in silence for a moment. The morning sun was rising, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. "Can I ask you something, Logan?" "Anything." "After this is over, after the Whitakers are in prison and Ava is safe, what will you do?" Logan considered the question. "I don't know. I came here to say goodbye to a dying friend. Instead I found—" He trailed off. "You found my daughter." "I found a fight worth fighting." "Is that all you found?" Logan looked at her. Lillian's eyes held a knowing warmth that reminded him painfully of Catherine. "Lillian, you don't have to answer. I'm just an old woman with too much time to think." She squeezed his hand. "But I've watched you these past few days. I've seen the way you look at her, and I've seen the way she looks at you. We barely know each other. Sometimes that's enough." Lillian smiled. "Sometimes a single moment can tell you everything you need to know about a person's heart." Before Logan could respond, the squeal of tires announced Hayes' arrival. A black SUV skidded to a stop at the loading dock. Hayes jumped out, weapon drawn. "We need to move now." Logan helped Lillian into the vehicle. Titan jumped in beside her. "What's happening?" Logan asked as Hayes accelerated away from the hospital. "Reginald Whitaker just went nuclear. He's called in every favor he has. 2 federal judges have issued conflicting orders. The state attorney general is demanding we release Colton, and someone leaked Ava's location to the press. The safe house is compromised. We moved her an hour ago. She's secure." Hayes glanced at him in the rearview mirror. "But Whitaker is getting desperate. Desperate men do stupid things." "How desperate?" "Desperate enough to order a hit on a cancer patient in a hospital." Hayes' jaw tightened. "We need to end this today, Pierce, before anyone else gets hurt." "What do you need from me?" "Your testimony, everything you witnessed, everything you know. We're taking this to a federal grand jury in 3 hours. and Reginald is being arrested as we speak. Hayes allowed herself a small smile. Turns out ordering the murder of federal witnesses is the one crime even his friends won't help him cover up. Logan looked out the window. The city was waking up. Ordinary people starting ordinary days, unaware of the battle that had been fought in their midst. Is Ava okay? Hayes nodded. She's scared, but she's strong. Stronger than she knows. She smiled slightly. She gets that from her mother. In her new safe house, Ava watched Reginald Whittaker's arrest on a small television, tears streaming down her face. Reginald emerged from the front entrance of his own hotel expecting to meet his lawyers. Instead, he found himself surrounded by federal agents. Reginald Whittaker, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, human trafficking, racketeering, and obstruction of justice. Reginald's face went white. This is outrageous. I'll have your badges. I'll have your careers. Do you have any idea? You have the right to remain silent, the lead agent said flatly, the voice of a man who had heard every threat in the book. I suggest you use it. They cuffed him in front of the cameras. Every major network carried it live. It's over, Isabella whispered beside her. It's really over. Not yet, Ava wiped her eyes. We still have to testify. Are you scared? Terrified. Ava took a deep breath. But I'm more scared of what happens if we don't, if we stay silent, if we let men like Reginald Whittaker keep winning. Isabella nodded slowly. When I worked at the hotel, I used to dream about this, about someone stopping them. I thought it was impossible. So did I. What changed? Ava thought about Logan, about Titan, about her mother's fierce eyes and unwavering faith. I stopped being alone. The grand jury convened that morning. Ava testified first. She wore a simple blue dress her mother had chosen for her, and she walked into the courtroom with her head held high. The questions were brutal. Reginald's lawyers, even in custody he had an army of them, attacked her credibility, her motives, her character. They suggested she was a disgruntled employee seeking revenge. They implied she had invited Colton's attention. Ava answered every question calmly, clearly, without flinching. Did you or did you not refuse a direct request from Colton Whittaker on the night in question? I refused his request that I accompany him to his hotel suite. Yes. And isn't it true that refusing such requests could be considered insubordination? Refusing to be sexually harassed is not insubordination, sir. It's self-respect. A murmur ran through the courtroom. The lawyer pressed on. You claim Mr. Whittaker struck you, but isn't it possible you simply fell? No. How can you be sure? Because I remember his hand. I remember his ring cutting my lip. I remember the sound he made when he hit me, like it was satisfying to him. Ava's voice didn't waver, and I remember the look in his eyes, the look of a man who had done this before and expected to do it again. The lawyer had no response. Isabella testified next. Her story was harder to tell, the things she had seen, the things she had heard, the things that haunted her dreams. But she told it anyway. Then came the evidence. Agent Hayes presented files recovered from the hotel's servers, the ones Reginald thought he had destroyed, financial records showing payments to corrupt officials, guest registries documenting the movement of trafficking victims, security footage that had been erased but actually backed up to a federal cloud, and finally, testimony from 3 of Reginald's former employees, men who had flipped in exchange for reduced sentences, confirming everything. The grand jury deliberated for 47 minutes. They returned indictments on all counts. Logan testified in a closed session. His evidence was classified, involving connections between the Whittaker operation and international trafficking networks the FBI had tracked for years. When he emerged, Hayes was waiting. It's done. Reginald and Colton are both going away for a very long time. How long? Reginald is looking at life without parole. Colton, if he survives his injuries, will be an old man before he sees daylight again. Logan nodded slowly. Something tight in his chest began to loosen. And Ava, Maria? Witness protection is available if they want it. New identities, new lives, somewhere far from Virginia. Hayes paused. But Ava turned it down. What? She said she's done running, done hiding. Hayes almost smiled. She said she wants to stay and help other women who've been through what she experienced. Logan felt something warm spread through his chest. Pride, admiration, something else he wasn't ready to name. Where is she now? St. Christopher's 5A hospital. She wanted to be with her mother for the verdict. Logan started walking. Pierce. He turned back. Hayes extended her hand. Thank you for everything. We couldn't have done this without you. Logan shook her hand. You would have found another way. Maybe, but it wouldn't have been this way, and this way was better. She walked away. Logan stood alone for a moment, processing everything that had happened in the past few days. A chance encounter in a hotel lobby, a woman crying on the floor, a choice to intervene instead of walk away. Such small moments, such enormous consequences. He started walking again. Titan fell into step beside him. Lillian was awake when Logan entered her room. So was Ava. They were sitting together on the bed, Ava's head on her mother's shoulder, their hands intertwined. When they saw Logan, both faces lit up. You heard? Ava asked. I heard. They're going to prison, both of them, for the rest of their lives. I know. Ava stood and crossed the room. For a moment she just looked at him. This stranger who had become something more. This warrior who had fought for her when no one else would. Then she hugged him. Logan froze for half a second. Then his arms went around her and he held her tight. Thank you, Ava whispered against his chest. Thank you. You did this. You and Isabella. You saved my life multiple times. Ava pulled back and looked up at him, tears glistening in her eyes. Don't diminish that. Don't pretend it doesn't matter. I'm not pretending anything. Then accept the gratitude, you stubborn man. Lillian's voice came from the bed, amused and warm. Lord knows you've earned it. Logan almost laughed. It had been so long since he'd laughed. Ava pulled away and wiped her eyes. What happens now with you? I mean, your job. I have to report back to my unit, finish my leave paperwork. Logan paused. Visit an old friend, Captain Reed. He doesn't have long, days maybe. I want to be there. Ava nodded, understanding. Will you come back after? Logan looked at her light blonde hair loose now, falling around her shoulders, at her blue eyes still red from crying, but bright with something that looked like hope. Do you want me to come back? Yes. Ava's voice was small but certain. I know we barely know each other. I know this has all been crazy and traumatic and nothing like normal life. But I feel like I know you. The real you. Not the surface stuff, your favorite food or your birthday or whatever, but the stuff that matters, your character, your heart. She took a breath. And I'd like to know the rest, if you're willing. Logan was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, voice rough with emotion he couldn't quite contain. My wife died 8 years ago. I loved her more than I knew it was possible to love anyone. And when she died, I thought that part of me died too. Ava waited. I've spent 8 years proving myself wrong, building walls, keeping people at arm's length, telling myself that love was a vulnerability I couldn't afford. Logan reached out and touched her face, gently, reverently. And now, I'm thinking maybe I was wrong about that too. Ava's breath caught. From the bed, Lillian made a sound that might have been a sob or a laugh. Oh, for heaven's sake, just kiss her already. Logan looked at Lillian, then at Ava, then he kissed her. It was soft, tentative, the kiss of two broken people who had forgotten what hope felt like and were just beginning to remember. When they parted, Ava was crying again, but this time she was smiling too. Come back, she whispered. Promise me. I promise. Titan barked once, as if adding his own seal of approval. And in that moment, in that small hospital room, something new was born. Something that had seemed impossible just days ago. A future. Captain Daniel Reed died 4 days after Reginald Whittaker's arrest. Logan was at his bedside, holding his hand, when it happened. You did good, son, Reed whispered near the end. His voice was barely audible, but his eyes were clear. I heard about Virginia, about the hotel, about the girl. How did you... I still have friends, Reed managed a weak smile. Old sailors talk. I'm proud of you, Logan. You found something worth fighting for. I found someone worth fighting for. Even better. Reed's grip tightened on Logan's hand. Promise me something. Anything. Don't waste this second chance. Don't let fear rob you of the years you have left. Reed's eyes glistened. I spent too much of my life married to the Navy. I loved the service, but I lost 2 wives and 3 children to the job. When I look back now, I see all the moments I missed, all the connections I sacrificed. Commander, I'm dying, Logan. Let me say what I need to say. Reed took a shuddering breath. You're the best sailor I ever trained. But more than that, you're a good man, a man of honor, a man who stands in the gap when others run. I learned from you. His voice was fading. Then learn this final lesson. Go back to her. Build something that lasts. And when you're old and grey and lying in a bed like this, make sure you have no regrets. I will. Promise me. I promise. Reed smiled. The tension in his face eased. His eyes drifted closed. Tell her. Tell her she's lucky. I'm the lucky one. Then you're both lucky. Reed's voice was barely a whisper now. That's how it should be. His hand went slack in Logan's grip. The monitors flatlined. Captain Daniel Reed, United States Navy, retired, passed into whatever waits beyond this world. Logan sat beside him for a long time. Titan lay at his feet, sensing the weight of the moment. Finally, Logan stood. He straightened Reed's blanket. He adjusted the flag, draped across the foot of the bed. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed Ava's number. She answered on the first ring. Logan, how is he? He's gone. Silence. Then, I'm so sorry. He went peacefully. He wasn't in pain. Logan's voice cracked. He told me to come back to you. He did. He said I shouldn't waste my second chance. Ava was quiet for a moment. Is he right? Am I your second chance? Yes. Logan looked at Reed one last time, at the weathered face now peaceful, at the hands that had taught him to fight, to lead, to serve. And I'm not going to waste it. When are you coming back? Tomorrow. I have arrangements to make for Reed, but tomorrow I'm on a plane. I'll be waiting. Ava. Yes. I love you. The words came out before he could stop them. Days. They had known each other for days. It was insane. It was irrational. It was completely, utterly true. Ava was silent for so long Logan thought the call had dropped. Then, quietly, fiercely, I love you too. Logan closed his eyes. Outside the window, the sun was setting. Another day was ending. But somewhere in Virginia, a woman with light blonde hair was waiting for him. And for the first time in 8 years, Lieutenant Commander Logan Pierce had somewhere to come home to. Logan landed in Virginia the next day. The flight had been delayed twice. He had spent hours staring out at clouds that seemed determined to keep him from getting home. Home. The word still felt strange. Days ago, he didn't have a home. He had bases, deployments, temporary quarters, military housing, hotel rooms that all looked the same. Now he had Ava. She was waiting at the arrivals gate, light blonde hair in a simple ponytail, wearing jeans and a borrowed sweater. She saw him before he cleared security, and she was running before he reached the barrier. Logan dropped his bag and caught her. They held each other for a long time, neither speaking, neither needing to. Around them, the airport crowd flowed past, travelers reuniting with families, business people hurrying to meetings, the endless current of ordinary life. None of it mattered. You came back, Ava whispered against his chest. I promised I would. I know, but I was scared. I kept thinking. Stop thinking. Logan pulled back and looked at her face. The bruises were fading, but the shadows under her eyes told him she hadn't been sleeping. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Ava nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. Okay. Titan barked from beside Logan's duffel bag, demanding attention. Ava laughed and knelt to embrace the German shepherd. I missed you too, boy. Titan's tail wagged so hard his whole body shook. How's your mother? Logan asked. Ava's smile flickered. She's stable. The doctors say the stress didn't help, but she's fighting. She stood up, wiping her eyes. She wants to see you. Then let's go. Lillian was sitting up in bed when they arrived, looking stronger than Logan had expected. Her eyes lit up when she saw him. You're back. Didn't I promise? You did. But promises are easy to make and hard to keep. Lillian reached out her hand. Come here, let me look at you. Logan approached the bed. Lillian studied his face with the intensity of a mother examining a potential son-in-law, which he realized with a start was exactly what she was doing. You've been crying, she observed, for your friend. Yes. Good. A man who doesn't cry for his friends isn't worth trusting. Lillian squeezed his hand. Sit down, we need to talk. Logan sat. Ava hovered near the door, uncertain whether to stay or go. You too, sweetheart, Lillian said. This concerns both of you. Ava moved to sit beside Logan. Their hands found each other automatically. Lillian watched them with a small smile. I've been doing a lot of thinking these past few days. About life, about death, about what matters and what doesn't. Mom. Hush. Let me finish. Lillian's voice was gentle but firm. When I first got sick, I was terrified. Not of dying. I made my peace with God a long time ago. But of leaving Ava alone. She's been taking care of me for 2 years, sacrificing everything. Her dreams, her future, her chance at happiness. Ava's grip on Logan's hand tightened. But then you showed up. Lillian looked at Logan, a stranger in a hotel lobby, a man who had every reason to walk away and chose to stay. And I watched my daughter come alive for the first time in years. Lillian, I didn't... You saved her life multiple times, but more than that, you gave her hope. You showed her that good men still exist, that courage isn't just something in storybooks. Lillian's eyes glistened. And now I can face whatever comes next, knowing she won't be alone. I'm not going anywhere, Logan said quietly. I promise you that. I know you're not. I can see it in your eyes. Lillian smiled. You love her. Yes. Say it out loud so she can hear it. Logan turned to Ava. Her eyes were wide, vulnerable, hopeful. I love you, he said. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. I know we've only known each other for a few days, but I've spent 20 years learning to recognize truth, and this is the truest thing I've ever felt. Ava's breath caught. Logan, you don't have to say it back. You don't have to feel the same way, but I needed you to know. I wanted you to know. Ava leaned forward and kissed him. Soft, certain, real. I love you too, she whispered against his lips. I don't care if it's fast. I don't care if it's crazy. I care that it's true. From the bed, Lillian made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Well, that settles that then. The door opened. A nurse entered with a chart. Mrs. Sinclair, Dr. Chen wants to see you for your afternoon checkup. She stopped, taking in the scene. Oh, sorry. I can come back. No need. Lillian waved her in. We were just finishing up. She looked at Logan and Ava. You two go get some air. I'll be fine. Are you sure? I'm positive. I need to flirt with Dr. Chen anyway. He's very handsome for a man his age. Ava laughed. A real laugh. The kind Logan hadn't heard from her yet. It was beautiful. We'll be back in an hour, Ava said. Take 2. Take 3. Lillian shooed them away. Young love shouldn't be spent in hospital rooms. They walked through the hospital corridors hand in hand, Titan padding beside them. Other patients and visitors watched them pass. A battered Navy officer, a young woman with healing bruises, and a German shepherd who walked like he owned the world. What happens now? Ava asked as they reached the exit. With you, I mean, your job. I've been thinking about that. Logan held the door for her. My enlistment is up in 6 months. I could re-up, do another tour. That's what I always planned to do. But, he looked at her. Plans change. Hayes offered me a job, consulting with the FBI's human-trafficking task force, using my skills to help take down networks like the Whitakers. Ava's eyes widened. That's incredible. It would mean staying stateside. No more deployments. No more disappearing for months at a time. Logan, if you want to keep serving. I've been serving for 20 years. I've done my duty 10 times over. Logan stopped walking and turned to face her. But I've never had something to come home to. I've never had a reason to stay. And now I have you. Ava's face crumpled. She threw her arms around his neck and held on tight. I don't want you to give up your career for me. I don't want you to resent me. I could never resent you. Logan held her close. I'm not giving anything up. I'm choosing something better. They stood in the cold December air, holding each other while the world spun on around them. There's something else, Logan said finally. Something I need to tell you. Ava pulled back, searching his face. What? Reed left me something in his will. A cabin in Montana, 20 acres, mountain views, completely off the grid. Logan paused. He said it was for when I finally found someone worth sharing it with. Ava's breath caught. Logan, I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. It's too soon for that. He kept her face in his hands. But I'm asking you to think about a future, a real future. Not just surviving day to day, but building something that lasts. I've never had that. I don't know how. Neither do I. Ava was quiet for a long moment. Logan could see the war behind her eyes. Hope versus fear. Possibility versus pain. Then she smiled. Okay. Okay? Okay. Her smile widened. But I get to pick the curtains. Logan laughed, actually laughed, for the first time in longer than he could remember. Deal. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Reginald Whittaker's trial began in mid-January. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, witness testimony, security footage his own lawyers couldn't explain away. The prosecution called 37 witnesses. The defense called 3. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Reginald Whittaker was sentenced to life without parole. He would die in federal prison, his empire dismantled, his legacy destroyed. Colton Whittaker, still recovering from his gunshot wounds, pleaded guilty to avoid trial. His lawyers negotiated a deal, 40 years, no possibility of parole for 25. The day the sentences were handed down, Ava stood on the courthouse steps and spoke to reporters. I was told to stay silent, she said, voice steady despite the cameras, despite the crowd. I was told that speaking out would destroy me. I was told that powerful men always win. She paused. I was told wrong. The crowd erupted in applause. Beside her, Logan watched, pride swelling in his chest. This woman, this incredible, brave, unbreakable woman, had gone from cowering on a lobby floor to standing before the nation and declaring victory. Hayes appeared at his elbow. She's good at this. She's good at everything. The Bureau wants to offer her a position, victim advocacy, helping other survivors navigate the legal system. Hayes smiled slightly. I thought you should know before we approach her. She'll say yes. You think? I know. Logan watched Ava answer questions, chin high, eyes clear. She had found her purpose. Same as he had. Speaking of which, your paperwork came through. You start consulting next month. Logan nodded. Thank you for everything. Thank me by catching more men like Reginald Whittaker. Hayes extended her hand. Welcome to the team, Pierce. They shook. Ava found him after the press conference, flushed with adrenaline and something that looked like joy. Did you see? They listened to me. They actually listened. They'd be fools not to. Hayes said the FBI wants to offer me a job. I heard. Did you also hear that I said yes? Logan grinned. I had a feeling. Ava threw her arms around him. We're going to be colleagues. Technically, we'll be in different divisions. Details. She pulled back and kissed him. We're going to change things, Logan. Together, we're going to make sure what happened to me never happens to anyone else. That's a big goal. I have a lot of motivation. Her eyes softened. And I have you. Isabella Morales testified at Reginald Whittaker's trial. It was the hardest thing she'd ever done. She talked about the basement rooms, the girls who came in the night and never checked out, the screams she pretended not to hear, the bruises Colton gave her when she saw too much. When she finished, the courtroom was silent. Several jurors were crying. After the verdict, Isabella found Ava in the hallway. Thank you. Ava took her hands. For what? For being brave first. For showing me it was possible. Isabella's eyes glistened. I spent months hiding, afraid, convinced that if I spoke up they would find me and kill me. But you stood in that lobby and refused to back down. You showed me what courage looks like. You showed yourself. I just opened the door. Isabella shook her head. You did more than that. You gave us all hope. They embraced, two women who had survived the same monster, standing together in the light. Lillian Sinclair watched the verdict from her hospital bed. When the guilty announcement came, she closed her eyes and whispered a prayer of thanksgiving. Mrs. Sinclair? The nurse looked concerned. Are you all right? I'm better than all right. Lillian opened her eyes. They were bright with tears. My daughter is free. The men who hurt her are going to prison. And I got to live long enough to see it. You're going to live a lot longer than that, the nurse said firmly. Dr. Chen says your latest scans are encouraging. Lillian smiled. We'll see, but even if I don't, I can go in peace now. I can go knowing she's safe, she's loved, she's going to be okay. The nurse patted her hand. Would you like me to call her? Let her know you're watching? No, let her have this moment. She's earned it. Lillian turned back to the television, where Ava was speaking to reporters, face radiant with hard-won victory. That's my girl, Lillian whispered. That's my brave, beautiful girl. 6 months later, Ava stood before a crowd of survivors. The conference room was packed. Women of all ages, all backgrounds, all stories. Some had been trafficked. Some had been assaulted. Some had been threatened into silence by men who thought power meant ownership. All of them had found their way to the foundation Ava had helped create, Second Chance Virginia. I know why you're here, Ava began. I know because I was you. 6 months ago, I was standing in a hotel lobby being beaten by a man who thought he owned me. I was alone. I was afraid. And I was convinced that no one would believe me if I spoke up. She paused, letting the silence breathe. I was wrong. Ava looked out at the faces watching her. Some scared, some hopeful, some broken in ways that might never fully heal. There are people who will believe you. There are people who will fight for you. And there are people who will stand beside you, no matter how dark the night gets. Her voice strengthened. I know because I found them. And today, I'm going to help you find them too. The room erupted in applause. Logan watched from the back, Titan sitting quietly at his feet. Pride filled his chest. Pride and something deeper. Love. Real, lasting, unshakable love. After the presentation, Ava found him. How did I do? You were incredible. I was terrified. Those aren't mutually exclusive. Logan pulled her into his arms. I'm proud of you. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Yes, you could have. You're the bravest person I've ever met. Ava laughed softly. A Navy SEAL is telling me I'm brave. A Navy SEAL who knows what courage looks like. He tilted her chin up. And I see it every time I look at you. They kissed, soft and sweet and full of promise. I have news, Logan said when they parted. Good news or bad news? Good, I think. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Ava's breath stopped. Logan, I know we said we'd take it slow. I know it's only been 6 months, but I've been waiting my whole life for someone like you, and I don't want to wait anymore. He opened the box. The ring was simple, a single diamond on a white gold band, but it caught the light like a captured star. Ava Sinclair, will you marry me? The room had gone completely silent. Every survivor in the building was watching. Ava looked at the ring, at Logan, at Titan, who was watching with what she could have sworn was anticipation. Yes. The word came out as a whisper, then stronger. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Logan slid the ring onto her finger. The room exploded into tears. Ava kissed him, tears streaming down her face, laughing and crying all at once. I love you, she said. I love you too. Logan held her close. Forever. Forever. The wedding was held on a warm day in late spring. The ceremony took place in the garden of Lillian Sinclair's rehabilitation center because Lillian had defied every prediction and was not only alive, but getting stronger every day. She sat in the front row, wearing a pale blue dress Ava had chosen for her, tears of joy streaming down her face as she watched her daughter walk toward the altar. Logan waited at the end of the aisle, wearing his navy dress whites for the last time. Titan sat beside him, a bow tie attached to his collar, looking dignified and slightly embarrassed. Ava wore a simple white dress, nothing extravagant, nothing showy, just elegant and real, like her. When she reached Logan, he took her hands. "You're beautiful," he whispered. "You're not so bad yourself." The ceremony was short. Neither wanted speeches or readings. They'd already said everything that mattered in the months of building a life together. When the minister said, "You may kiss the bride," Logan pulled Ava close and kissed her with everything he had. The guests erupted in applause. At the reception, Lillian made a toast. "I wasn't supposed to be here," she said, voice strong despite the tears. "The doctors gave me months to live. That was years ago." Laughter rippled through the crowd. But God had other plans. He always does. Lillian raised her glass. "He brought a stranger into my daughter's life at exactly the right moment. A man who refused to look away when evil was happening. A man who fought for a woman he didn't know because it was the right thing to do." She turned to Logan. "You saved my daughter's life. But more than that, you saved her hope. You showed her that love isn't just a fairy tale. It's real, it's possible, and it's worth fighting for." Lillian raised her glass higher. "To Logan and Ava, may your love be as strong as your courage, and may you never stop fighting for each other, for justice, and for the world you're building together." "To Logan and Ava," the toast echoed across the garden. Logan held Ava's hand under the table. "Happy?" he asked. "More than I ever thought possible." "Good." He kissed her temple. "Because this is just the beginning." 1 year later, Ava stood before a congressional committee. She had been invited to testify about human trafficking, about the failures of the system, about what could be done to protect vulnerable women. "The Whitaker case was not unique," she said, voice clear and confident. "Every day in hotels and massage parlors and private homes across this country, women are being bought and sold like property. And every day the men who profit from this evil are protected by a system that values wealth over justice." The committee members listened intently. "I'm not here to assign blame. I'm here to offer solutions." Ava pulled out a folder. "The Second Chance Foundation has worked with over 500 survivors in the past year. We've helped them find housing, employment, legal representation, and most importantly, hope." She looked directly at the committee chair. "But we can't do this alone. We need federal funding. We need stronger laws. We need a system that believes survivors instead of silencing them." "And what would you say to those who argue that these programs are too expensive?" the chair asked. Ava didn't hesitate. "I would say that the cost of doing nothing is higher. I would say that every woman we fail is a daughter, a sister, a mother. I would say that justice isn't expensive. It's priceless." The committee voted unanimously to expand funding for survivor services. Logan was waiting outside when Ava emerged. "How did it go?" "They listened." Ava's face was radiant. "They actually listened." "Of course they did. You're impossible to ignore." Ava laughed and took his hand. "Ready to go home?" "Always." They walked out of the Capitol building together, Titan trotting beside them, into a future neither could have imagined a year ago. A future built on courage, on truth, on love, on the simple, powerful decision to refuse to look away. That night, Logan and Ava sat on the porch of their Virginia home, watching the sunset. Titan lay at their feet, grey muzzle resting on his paws, content and at peace. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Ava asked. "If you hadn't been in that lobby, if you hadn't stepped forward." "Sometimes." Logan pulled her closer. "But then I think about how things are, and I realize everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to." "You believe that? That God put you there for a reason?" "I didn't used to. I spent a lot of years angry at God for taking Catherine, for all the suffering I saw in my deployments, for a world that seemed designed to reward evil and punish good." "What changed?" Logan looked at her, at this woman who had transformed his life, his heart, his future. "You did." Ava's eyes glistened. "When I saw you on that floor, something clicked. Something that had been broken for a long time." Logan took her hand. "I realized that God doesn't prevent evil. He places people in position to fight it. He gives us choices, and the choice to intervene, to stand between the predator and the prey, that's what makes us human. That's beautiful. It's true. Logan kissed her forehead. You taught me that. You and your mother and Isabella and every survivor I've met since. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the presence of faith. Faith that our choices matter. Faith that our actions have meaning. Faith that even in the darkest moments, light is possible. Ava leaned against him, head on his shoulder. I love you, Logan Pierce. I love you too, Ava Pierce. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the last rays of sun paint the sky in shades of gold and purple and rose. And somewhere in that vast and mysterious universe, in a realm beyond human understanding, a plan continued to unfold. A plan that had placed a Navy SEAL in a hotel lobby at exactly the right moment. That had given a broken woman the courage to speak. That had turned tragedy into triumph and despair into hope. Because that's how grace works. Not through grand miracles and burning bushes, but through ordinary people making extraordinary choices. Through strangers who refuse to look away. Through warriors who protect the vulnerable. Through survivors who find their voices. And through a love that began with a single act of courage and grew into something that would change the world. This story is not just about justice. It is about how God often works quietly through ordinary people who refuse to look away. In daily life, miracles do not always arrive with thunder. Sometimes they arrive as conscience, as a steady voice that says, stop, as truth preserved when silence would be easier. Scripture reminds us, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Proverbs 31:8. If this story moved you, let it be a reminder. Your choices matter more than you know. Share this message with someone who needs hope. Leave a comment if you believe that courage still lives in this world. Subscribe so these stories can reach more hearts. And may God watch over you and your family. Strengthen your resolve with compassion. And place the right people in your path when you need them most. Because the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. But when good people choose to stand, when they refuse to look away, refuse to stay silent, refuse to let fear win, evil does not triumph. Love does, courage does, and hope, once kindled, can never be extinguished. Amen.